Hello, welcome back to the last part of the video series on how to use DSM-5, and now we are at the last section 3 of the DSM-5. In the section 3 of DSM-5, we have 4 major components. The first is assessment measures, the next is cultural formulation interviews, the third is the alternative DSM-5 models for personality disorders, and the last is the conditions for further studies. For the assessment measures, it is a more dimensional approach compared to the categorical approach of traditional diagnosis, which is a yes-no approach. It depends on individual subjective report with clinicians' interpretations. In the assessment measures, we have three different kinds of assessment measures. The first is the cross-cutting symptom measures, the second is the severity measures, and the third is the World Health Organization Disability Assessment Schedule version 2.0, and I will call it Who Does 2.0. For the cross-cutting symptom measures, it is modeled on general medicine reviews of systems. It's like an approach to review critical psychopathology domains. It is very important for individuals' care as it helps to identify additional areas of inquiry other than the principal diagnosis. There are 2 levels of cross-cutting symptom measures. For the level 1 is about a brief survey of 13 symptoms domain for adults and 12 for children. The symptom domains include domains like depression, mania, anxiety, memory, and others. With a rating of mild or greater in the level 1 of cross-cutting symptom measures, it will require additional inquiry, follow-up, and the introduction of level 2 of cross-cutting symptom measures. For the level 2 of cross-cutting symptom measures, is about the in-depth assessments of certain domains. It will aid in the diagnosis, treatment planning, and follow-up. These cross-cutting symptom measures can be administered at intake interview and over time to track improvements. Now, let's look at the severity measures. Severity measures is very disorder specific, and it could be administered to individuals who have received a full diagnosis on certain mental health disorders or clinical significant syndrome. Some of these severity measures are self-completed, while some require clinicians. It offers an additional level of information for diagnosis. For the severity measures, it is not included in the DSM-5 printed version, but is available online on the psychiatry.org website. For the Who Does 2.0, it accesses the functionality or the disability in the 6 domains, which are getting along with people, self-care, participation in society, life activities, understanding and communicating, and getting around. Who Does 2.0 is self-administered but adjustable by a clinician based on clinical judgment. There are 3 steps in administrating Who Does 2.0. For the step 1 is about the summing of recorded item score within each domain. Next, the clinician will sum the score of all 6 domains and to convert the summary score into a metric of 0 to 100, where 0 score means no disability and 100 score means full disability. You might want to pause the video to have a closer look at the Who Does 2.0. These are the 6 domains: understanding, self-communicating, getting around, self-care, getting along with people, life activity, and participation in society. Next is the cultural formulation interview in the section 3 of the DSM-5, and we can call that CFI. CFI is a 16-question semi-structured interview. It aids in assessing the impact of culture on key aspects of clinical presentation and care, individual experience, and the social context of the clinical problem. It is very important so that the clinician can avoid stereotyping, and it is best used with the client's demographic data. Cultural formulation interview actually seeks for the information on 4 domains, which are cultural factors affecting current help-seeking behavior, cultural factors affecting self-coping and past help-seeking behavior, the cultural definition of the problem, and also the cultural perceptions of cause, context, and support. In a domain, for example, cultural definition of the problem, a sample question that the clinician can ask the client is something like this. Sometimes people have different ways of describing their problems to their families, friends, and others in their community. How would you describe your problem to them? It is very important to use information regarding the cultural issues on how people view their issues in their own cultural context. DSM-5 also introduced the alternative model for personality disorders, but we are not going to discuss them here as we are going to learn more about them during the personality disorder. The last part of the DSM-5, section 3, is about the conditions for further study. The panel of DSM-5 suggests a number of disorders that might need to be studied in the future so that they could be included in future revisions of DSM. For example, in DSM 5.1 or maybe in DSM 6 in the future. And these conditions include caffeine use disorder, internet gaming disorders, and non-suicidal self-injury. Okay, we are about to come to the end, but there is one more thing about the ICD code. This is the ICD code. And I'm very sorry, as in the previous video, I mistakenly mentioned the 17 is the ICD code, but 17 actually is the page number for these neurodevelopmental disorders located in the DSM-5. In the DSM-5, actually, intellectual disabilities, which is mild intellectual disabilities, is actually coded as F70 in ICD-10. And in each diagnosis, like for example, this post-traumatic stress disorder, this is the ICD-10 code. And this is the old ICD-9 code, which will no longer be applicable when you are watching this video, as ICD-10 code will be used starting from 1st of October 2015. These are the major references in developing the slides, and I would like to thank you very much for spending time to watch these videos. Thank you. I hope that you have enjoyed these videos and learned something new from them. Thank you very much.